Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something huge, the complete evolution of the Druid class, heading into Midnight. And this isn't just about a few tweaks here and there.
No, not at all. This is like a foundational rebuild. We're seeing a full overhaul across all four specs.
Exactly. The whole philosophy seems to be about giving players more agency, simplifying things, and cutting down on what everyone calls keybind bloat or input clutter.
That's the perfect way to frame it. I mean, our goal here is to really distill what these changes mean for how the Druid is actually going to feel to play. They're stripping away years of baggage.
The Druid is being reborn, really, a
Mhm.
cleaner, more adaptable hybrid. Okay, so let's jump in and unpack this, starting right at the core class tree, because that's where the whole philosophy kicks off.
For sure. The first thing that jumps out is the pruning. They've taken out abilities like Renewal and Nature's Vigil.
Right, things that were super situational.
Yeah, or just didn't have a lot of impact. And look, while some veterans might miss them, getting rid of these it lowers the barrier to entry. Fewer keybinds is a huge psychological win for anyone learning the class.
It's about cutting complexity without actually hurting your output. Like, look at the new Gift of the Wild talent. It's just a simple one-point passive.
Makes your Mark of the Wild 100% better, but only on you.
And that's it. It's just a straightforward power boost. No new button to press, no new thing to track in the middle of a fight.
But the real star of the core tree has to be the Heart of the Wild redesign. I mean, this button has been a problem for years.
Oh, yeah. Conceptually, plague is the right term for it. You almost never used it.
And now, it's a powerful 2-minute cooldown. A real oh shoot button that gives you a potent off-roll ability.
And this is where that hybrid fantasy really comes alive. The effect you get depends entirely on what form you're in when you press it. So, say you're in bear form.
You get a 30% max health increase instantly. For a non-guardian druid, that's an incredible defensive tool, a real lifesaver.
And what if you're a healer in trouble?
You pop into cat form, hit Heart of the Wild, and you unleash this empowered feral frenzy. You get instant damage, a bleed, 5 combo points. It's a burst of damage with 0 setup.
And if you're not shape-shifted at all?
An empowered wild growth, some emergency group healing. It turns this dusty, forgotten button into a genuinely strategic tool you use based on what you need right now on the battlefield.
Okay, before we get into the specs, we have to touch on the interrupt change. Skullbash is gone for Restoration Druids. That feels like a very deliberate philosophical choice.
It is. It absolutely is. I think this plugs into a much bigger conversation about what a healer's job actually is,
Yeah.
Especially in really tough content.
Right, the pressure to be an interrupt bot.
Exactly. The idea is that your group's success shouldn't hinge on whether or not your healer happens to be a spec with a kick. They're trying to let healers focus on, well, healing. It's a recalibration of the role.
Makes sense. Okay, let's move on to the specializations, and we have to start with balance. If the theme is fixing old flaws, the Eclipse system was flaw number 1.
Oh, without a doubt. It was this rigid treadmill that just fell apart the second you had to move. You were always reacting, never planning.
So what's the fix?
The new active eclipse, it's so much better. Lunar and solar eclipses are now actual abilities that you choose to press. They've got a 15-second duration, 30-second cooldown, and you can even talent into a second charge.
So you're deciding what your burst window is. You're in control.
Exactly. You aim for something like 60 to 80% uptime. When you're out of eclipse, you build your astral power. When you're in it, you spend. It turns the rotation from a frantic mess into a strategic stopwatch.
And that's not even the biggest fix, is it? The mastery rework seems just as important.
It might be even more important, honestly. The old mastery was a constant tuning headache for the dev team.
Okay, so break that down for someone who isn't deep in the theory crafting weeds. What was the actual problem?
The problem was that your damage was tied to your datis, your Moonfire and Sunfire being on the target. It made scaling a nightmare and it boxed them in. Every new talent, every tier set had to revolve around those datis.
A restrictive loop,
A
basically.
very restrictive loop. The new mastery is way simpler. It just increases your nature and arcane damage. That's it. It lets them hit harder, faster, and it opens up the design space for the future.
And the new talents really lean into that feeling of agency and burst, like the apex talent, Ascendant Eclipses.
Oh, yeah. Activating Eclipse makes your next Wrath or Starfire instant. Plus, the activation itself fires off these solar or lunar bolts that are guaranteed critical strikes. It's a huge power-up moment.
There are also talents that seem to reward, like high-skill play. What about Illune's challenge?
That one's really interesting. It's a high-risk, high-reward kind of thing. If you manage your resources perfectly and you end an eclipse with less than 40 astral power, you get a buff.
And the buff.
It massively speeds up your Wrath and Starfire cast times for 15 seconds, so it rewards you for perfect spending by letting you rebuild your resources way faster for the next cycle. It's a cool skill check.
And for players who like a bit of randomness, there's Total Eclipse.
The high roll fantasy talent, yeah. It gives you a 20% chance to get the benefits of both eclipses at the same time. It's this massive, unpredictable power spike. It'll be fun.
Nice. Okay, let's pivot to Feral. If balance was about mastering timing, Feral was always about mastering hidden math. And it seems like they're trying to get rid of that.
They're saying a massive goodbye to bleed snapshotting. And this is probably the single biggest simplification in the entire class rework.
Explain what that was for anyone who wasn't a spreadsheet master.
Snapshotting meant the damage of your bleeds, like RIP, was calculated only at the moment you applied it, so you had to perfectly line up 3 or 4 different temporary buffs.
Tiger's Fury, other procs?
Right, all of it. You'd line them all up and then hit RIP to snapshot that massive damage for its full duration. It was incredibly complex and, frankly, unintuitive.
So the new philosophy is simple.
Yeah.
Going forward, only Tiger's Fury and Prowl will have their damage boost retained by your bleeds. That's it.
And to really drive that point home, they removed Blood Talons completely.
The minigame.
The ultimate minigame. You had to use 3 different combo point builders to get a buff for your next 2 finishers. It was just so much mental overhead on every single rotation. Now the focus is back on the core loop. Manage bleeds, manage energy, spend points.
And the new talents feel like they embrace that. Unseen Predator, the new Apex talent, seems like a good example.
It's a great example. You use Ferocious Bite, and you've got a chance to trigger a free attack, a strong bleed on a single target, or an AoE swipe. It's just a clean, unconditional damage proc, no setup required.
It also added some new rotational tools, right? Like Chomp.
Yeah, Chomp is a new ability you can only use when you're below 30 energy. So it adds this little resource management puzzle where you're incentivized to play around the bottom of your energy bar, kind of like we see in other melee specs.
And for dungeons, it looks like Feral is getting some amazing tools.
Oh, Hunger for Battle is going to be huge in M+ way. When an enemy with your RIP on it dies, you get energy back and a stacking damage buff. On a big trash pack, you could get up to a 25% damage increase.
That's a serious funnel.
A huge funnel. And it pairs perfectly with another talent, Blood Spattered, which increases your ferocious bite damage for each enemy affected by RIP. So you're rewarded for keeping your AoE bleeds up while you burst down a priority target. It's visible complexity, not hidden math.
Perfect. Let's switch gears to Guardian. The big design goal here was fixing what they called an oversaturated rage economy. What did that actually mean?
It basically means you were generating way too much rage, way too fast, and you were forced to just spam Iron Fur, not because you needed the armor, but just to avoid capping your resource.
So it was more of a rage tax than a tactical decision.
Exactly. The goal is to smooth out that rage income and give you better ways to spend it. And part of that is just making you tougher at a baseline. Survival Instincts now has 2 charges by default.
So how are they fixing the rage spending problem?
A talent called Harness Rage is a big part of it. The main thing is that if you cast Maul with over 80 rage, you have a 100% increased chance to proc gore. So instead of just dumping rage to stay off the cap, you're now incentivized to pool it and spend it on a big, powerful Maul.
That makes a lot of sense. And they have a new ability too, Red Moon.
Yeah, it replaces Moonfire, it's a 30-second cooldown DOT, and Mangle extends its duration. Plus, Mangle generates extra rage on the target that has Red Moon on it. It creates this nice little single-target focus loop.
Now, you mentioned that not every change seems to align with this simplification goal.
Right, and here's my point of friction. Sundering Roar. It's a new 1-minute cooldown, it's cool, it resets Thrash, lets you stack it higher, but wait a minute.
You're saying it feels like a step back.
I'm saying, isn't adding a new micro cooldown that you have to line up with your big cooldowns, like Incarnation, isn't that kind of the exact thing they're trying to remove from the DPS specs?
That's a really good point. It's like they're replacing one type of combo requirement with another just for the tank spec.
It feels a little counter to the overall philosophy. It's something we'll have to see how it plays out. But despite that, the Apex talent, Wild Guardian, is a great payoff.
What's that do?
After your Berserk ends, your next few casts of Iron Fur, Maul, and Frenzy Regeneration are echoed at higher effectiveness. You can even get an Absorb Shield from Iron Fur. It just gives you this extended period of toughness right after your big defensive ends.
Very cool. Okay, let's wrap up with Restoration, where the theme is all about quality of life.
And managing information overload. The mastery rework is huge here. It now increases your healing by a lot more per heal overtime effect, or hot T.
But there's a limit, right? You can only have 5 hot Ts on a single target.
Right, and that sounds like a nerf, but it's actually power consolidation.
How is a limit a good thing for a hot healer?
Because it cleans up the raid frames and it makes each hot more meaningful. You know that those 5 hot Ts are doing serious work instead of trying to track 7 or 8 weaker ones. It just simplifies the whole process of parsing who needs healing.
And speaking of simplifying things, the best quality of life change might be life treading.
Oh, it's not even a contest. This replaces efflorescence. No more placing your healing circle on the ground just to have the tank immediately move out of it.
That is the most frustrating thing.
It's gone.
Right.
Now your efflorescence automatically grows under your life bloom target, and it moves with them every 5 seconds. It's a massive, massive improvement. You can focus on healing, not chasing people with a green circle.
And more keybind reduction, too. Grove Guardians are passive now.
Yep, they just pop out when you cast Swiftmen or Wild Growth. No extra button needed.
There's also a big change to Soul of the Forest.
A huge change to the core rotation. It no longer buffs Wild Growth. That whole sequence of Swiftmend into a giant Wild Growth, that's gone. Now it buffs your rejuvenation and regrowth, shifting the power back to your targeted single-person hotties.
And the Apex talent, Everbloom, leans into that.
It leans right in. Life Bloom can stack up to 3 times now, and it splashes healing to nearby allies. And when you use your Soul of the Forest buff, it causes your Life Bloom to just pulse out healing 8 times in a row. It gives Resto some much-needed burst healing without a major cooldown.
So if you put it all together, from getting rid of the mental gymnastics of feral snapshotting to giving balance real agency over their damage, it's a clear move toward a more modern, streamlined identity for the Druid.
A much more agency-focused identity for sure. They really went after the foundational flaws like the balance mastery instead of just trying to patch over them. And the Resto QL stuff is just a massive win for player enjoyment.
The whole class just feels more approachable now.
And that brings us to the big question for you to think about. This massive wave of simplification across all 4 specs. It's clearly meant to broaden the game's appeal, to make this hybrid fantasy more intuitive.
Which is a necessary thing for accessibility.
It is, but will this potentially alienate some of those dedicated, hardcore players, the ones who really enjoyed mastering those deep, complex, and sometimes convoluted mechanics that are now being removed?
It's that classic trade-off between accessibility and a super high skill ceiling. A fascinating thing we'll have to watch play out. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the new foundation for the Druid class.
We hope this helps you figure out which of these new identities might be the right fit for you as we head toward midnight.
We'll see you next time.